Welcome to the Bro Code Podcast. Join Kennedy Lucas, Terry Lester, and Jackson Smith as they break down the biggest plays, share locker room banter, and keep it 100 on sports hot takes. Gear up, because this is where the real talk begins. Gear up!
You're tuned into the Bro Code Podcast, where real men talk real life, real issues, and real solutions. From the barbershop to the boardroom, this is where the culture connects. It's Friday, July 25th, 2025, and you are officially locked into the Bro Code Podcast. So you know me from the Johnny and David show, but Excited Kennedy has asked me to be part of the show. We hope you all like the addition, coming at you live and direct with the kind of heat that starts conversations, sparks growth, and holds us all accountable. Now listen, this ain't just a podcast. This is a movement. We're bridging the gap between generations, decoding the mindset of modern men, and keeping it unapologetically real. Whether you're grinding through your 9 to 5, chasing that dream, building a business, or navigating the complexities of life and love, we got you covered. On today's episode, we're diving deep into today's sports headlines. Plus, I've got a special guest in the building who's about to drop some serious gems. You already know how we do respect the code, honor the journey, and always keep it real with the crew. So grab your coffee, your cocktail, or whatever gets you in the zone because it's time to level up. This is the Bro Code Podcast. Let's get into it. Let's talk baseball. While trade deadline rumors swirl in the Bronx, the future of the New York Yankees, or at least their next week, is playing out 350 miles northwest of Yankee Stadium. Spencer Jones, the hottest hitter in the minor leagues, is honing his craft for the AAA Scranton Wilkes-Barre Rail Riders as they visit the Rochester Red Wings at the Industrial City's downtown ballpark. Meanwhile, the big league club is back home after dropping a 3-game set to the first-place Toronto Blue Jays 3 hours across the border. With the pressure mounting on baseball's marquee franchise, Jones and the rest of the baseball world wonders where he'll be on August 1st. Most years in the Bronx, the noise to call up Jones for his major league debut would have reached a deafening decibel level well before he clubbed 3 home runs in 5 innings in Thursday's matinee. The 6'7" toolsy center fielder is batting .100 with 13 home runs and a 1.403 OPS in 19 games since his promotion to the Rail Riders on June 27th. The combination of Yankee Stadium's short porch and Jones' monster power from the left side is the stuff of bleacher creature dreams. I've never seen anything like it before, Rail Riders manager Shelley Duncan told ESPN before his team's 7-1 loss to the Red Wings on Tuesday snapped an 11-game winning streak. I've never seen a player this talented before in my life, but Jones' recent outburst hasn't inspired the typical pleas for promotion. First, because he isn't a fit in the Yankees' clunky roster construction, which already has too many outfielders worthy of playing every day. Second, his most glaring flaw, a propensity to whiff at an alarming rate, has tempered expectations. Instead, his breakout, coupled with the major league team's clear needs elsewhere, has rendered Jones a central subject of trade speculation as July 31st approaches, and created a deadline dilemma for the Yankees. In short, has the 24-year-old Jones' stellar season made him too valuable to trade?
It's a lot of fun this time of year, just for baseball fans in general, right? Jones told ESPN. I have friends all over the country that are wanting me to go and play for their team, but my heart's here with this organization. I've been having a lot of fun being a Yankee so far in my career, and you take everything with a grain of salt. It's part of it, part of the season, and I'm excited to see how things go moving forward. Yankees general manager Brian Cashman did not mince words earlier this month when he outlined his goals for the deadline. He wants to acquire starting pitching to bolster a rotation that lost Garrett Cole and Clark Schmidt for the season. He wants to upgrade a bullpen that lacks sturdy depth. And he wants an infielder, preferably someone to replace Oswald Peraza and his 24 WRC plus at third base. We're going to town, Cashman said. Until late last month, going to town seemingly meant making Jones and every other player in the Yankees farm system not named George Lombard Jr. available in trades. Rival executives believe Lombard, a 20-year-old shortstop in Double-A and the lone Yankee on ESPN MLB insider Killy McDaniel's most recent top 50 prospects list, is essentially untouchable in talks. Otherwise, it was open season at the right price. The Yankees have several prospects other teams covet, predominantly pitchers. Right-handed starters Elmer Rodriguez Cruz, Bryce Cunningham, Carlos LaGrange, Ben Hess, and Cam Schlittler are all highly regarded. AAA catchers Jesus Rodriguez and Rafael Flores, who homered in his third game at the level on Tuesday, are among the others they could move to plug holes. Of that group, only the 24-year-old Schlittler has reached the majors. A former 7th-round pick, Schlittler has thrown the 10 fastest pitches by a Yankee this season, touching 100 miles per hour while posting a 4.35 ERA in his first 2 starts. Cashman must decide if he's part of the team's immediate future or a trade candidate to improve the Yankees' 2025 World Series chances. Cashman must also decide if Jones' recent play is enough to take him off the table in trade talks or has simply made it the perfect moment to deal him. If Yul Jones or US a Jenner to kill me changery, I challenger and trallenger, all. I could only imagine that there's people that are thinking that Duncan said. But if you want to look at it like a tear, if you want to say this is a tier that he's on, you might think it's a great time to trade him. I think the person we're seeing right now is who he is. If the Yankees keep Jones, they could trade from their surplus of left-handed hitting position players already in the majors, perhaps creating a spot for Jones to fill this season.
Exactly 1 month since the 2025 NBA draft, some of the biggest moves of the summer have already unfolded. From Cooper Flagg and Dylan Harper being selected at the top of the draft by the Dallas Mavericks and San Antonio Spurs, respectively, to superstar players such as Kevin Durant, Desmond Bane, Kristaps Porzingis, Drew Holiday, and Miles Turner changing teams via trade and free agency, it has been an eventful few weeks across the association. But that doesn't mean everything has been determined. So, with that in mind, here's a look at some of the biggest unresolved extension and restricted free agency decisions of the 2025 offseason, beginning with a superstar extension candidate on the league's biggest stage. Will Luka Doncic sign an extension in August? Arguably, the biggest story hanging over the league is the looming August 2 date when Doncic, who arrived in Los Angeles almost 6 months ago in one of the most shocking trades in NBA history, can sign an extension to remain a Laker past next summer. If Doncic chooses not to extend, he can become an unrestricted free agent next July. That would immediately make him the most impactful player to hit the open market since Kawhi Leonard in 2019. The Lakers, naturally, would not want to see a repeat of that situation when Leonard left the Toronto Raptors, fresh off winning Finals MVP and leading Toronto to its only NBA championship, to join the LA Clippers. How could Doncic's situation play out? If he chooses to sign an extension, he will be eligible for a 4-year, $222 million contract that would tie him to the Lakers through the end of the decade. But the best financial path for Doncic would be to sign a short-term deal, probably a 3-year, $160 million extension with a player option for the 2028 to 29 season. By signing for 2 more years, Doncic could potentially sign a deal in 2028 for 35% of the salary cap, a deal that, at that time, could be a 5-year, $369 million contract. And for any Lakers fans uneasy about Doncic's level of investment in Los Angeles, just take a look at what Marcus Smart said about how he wound up signing with the franchise. When you get a guy like Luka calling, checking on you, try to see where you're at, to see if you want to come join something special that he's trying to cook up over here, Smart said this week. For him to say that he can really use my help, that meant a lot. What's next for lingering restricted free agents? There's a reason 25 players signed rookie extensions over the past 2 years, including 11 in 2024. Restricted free agency is no place to be. It's why Josh Giddey, Quentin Grimes, Jonathan Kuminga, and Cam Thomas continue to sit in a holding pattern. All 4 players have been affected by the lack of cap space across the league. No team, other than the Brooklyn Nets, Thomas's former team, has more than $14.1 million of the non-tax mid-level exception to spend. That has left this quartet of restricted free agents with a choice: compromise on their next contract or continue to wait. Kuminga's options are limited by the lack of overall spending and the reality that the Golden State Warriors could be hard-capped at the first apron if he is signed and traded. The Warriors are currently $25 million below the first apron and have taken a backseat to free agency until the Kuminga situation is resolved. They currently have 6 open roster spots. Grimes is in a similar position. The best available shooting guard continues to be without a home largely because of the Philadelphia 76ers' finances, although they have made minimum signings this offseason. Trendon Watford, Eric Gordon, Kyle Lowry, and Justin Edwards. Philadelphia has held off using a $5.7 million tax mid-level exception because of second apron concerns. If Philadelphia used the exception, it would then hard cap itself at the second apron. The team is $19.5 million below without Grimes. If a compromise is not reached, the fallback is to sign the one-year qualifying offer. Giddey, $11.1 million. Grimes, $8.5 million. Kuminga, $8 million. And Thomas, $6 million. Have until October, one, to sign their contracts. If they don't, the contract is no longer valid unless it's extended, and each player remains a restricted free agent. There is a double-edged sword to signing the qualifying offer. While they would be unrestricted free agents in the 2026 offseason, each player loses bird rights if they approve a trade to a new team during the season. The last time a player signed a qualifying offer was Miles Bridges in 2023. What other key veteran extension decisions are out there? Donic's situation merits attention, but he's far from the only veteran facing the possibility of extending this summer. The biggest name involved in extension discussions is Durant, who was traded to the Houston Rockets last month after spending the past 2.5 years with the Phoenix Suns. Durant can sign a 2-year extension for a maximum of $118 million. If Durant doesn't agree to one, he, like Donic, can become an unrestricted free agent next summer. There are two other notable point guards to monitor in extension discussions. The first is De'Aaron Fox, who, like Donic, changed teams in February when he was traded from the Sacramento Kings to the Spurs. Also like Donic, Fox will become eligible for a 4-year, $222 million extension on August. 3. Then there's Atlanta Hawks star Trae Young, who has 1 year left on his contract before he can become a free agent. He has a $48.9 million player option for the 2026-27 season. Atlanta's had an excellent summer and has a chance at a top 4 seed in the Eastern Conference next season. But is there an extension to be done with Young that makes sense? The Hawks have been smart in spreading around their future financial commitments and probably won't do the same with Young, the franchise's best player since Hall of Famer Dominique Wilkins. Other interesting players to watch include Mikal Bridges, who has 1 year left on his contract, and Karl Anthony Towns, who has 2 and could be extended by the New York Knicks. The same goes for PJ, Washington and Dallas, who could sign a 4-year deal for up to $89 million. Tyler Herro, who has 2 years left on his contract, is eligible to extend with the Miami Heat starting October. 1. Tamani Kamara of the Portland Trail Blazers is also a candidate, though extending him would make it more difficult for the Blazers to create significant cap room next summer. Another low-price extension to watch is Milwaukee's A.J. Green, as general manager John Horst has talked publicly about wanting to get a deal done to keep the guard in a Bucks uniform. What are the rookie extensions to watch? So far, for players from the 2022 draft, Paolo Banchero, Chet Holmgren, Jabari Smith Jr., and Jalen Williams have signed long-term extensions. Over the next couple of months, the focus will shift to the remaining 17 extension-eligible players from that class. But if the past 2 years are an indicator, expect a quiet August and September. Out of the 25 players who signed rookie extensions in the previous 2 off-seasons, 16 were signed in October, with 14 coming just before the regular season began. As one Eastern Conference executive told ESPN, the combination of players faced with a deadline and the lure of guaranteed money usually results in a compromise. There are several interesting names to monitor, including Hawks guard Dyson Daniels, Denver Nuggets guard Christian Braun, Rockets forward Tari Eason, Indiana Pacers guard Benedict Mathurin, Suns center Mark Williams, Trail Blazers guard Shaedon Sharpe, Kings forward Keegan Murray, and Utah Jazz center Walker Kessler. The Nuggets trading Michael Porter Jr. and Indiana not re-signing Miles Turner have opened the financial flexibility to sign Braun and Mathurin to long-term deals. The Pacers have been aggressive in signing their own players to extensions the past 2 seasons, but have done so within budget. Tyrese Halliburton, Andrew Nembhard, Aaron Nesmith, and T.J. McConnell have signed new contracts. Halliburton is the only player of the 4 with a starting salary over $20 million. When will Russell Westbrook find his next team? Prominent veterans are available late in free agency every year, and this time is no exception. Players such as Ben Simmons, Malcolm Brogdon, Chris Boucher, and Gary Payton II remain unsigned. But the biggest name is Westbrook, a former MVP. After spending his first 11 seasons with the Thunder, Westbrook has now played on 5 teams in the past 6 seasons: the Rockets, Washington Wizards, Lakers, Clippers, and most recently the Nuggets. And after opting out his player option for next season, the expectation was that Westbrook would have a team by now. Westbrook remains a talented and productive player even as he approaches his 37th birthday, averaging 13.3 points, 4.9 rebounds, and 6.1 assists in almost 28 minutes last season. But his need to play on the ball and his struggles as a shooter make him an awkward fit on most contending rosters. It's hard to imagine Westbrook off an NBA roster next season, and plenty of veterans sign minimum deals in August. But until the future Hall of Famer lands somewhere, the league will be watching. The 2025 NBA draft is wrapped up, with the rookie class debuting at summer leagues and teams looking ahead to next season. In the wake of the annual Las Vegas showcase, where one picked Cooper Flag and others turned in standout performances, we polled early opinions on the draft and what NBA teams are expecting from their new faces. ESPN's Jeremy Wu surveyed 20 anonymous NBA executives and scouts, asking for their thoughts on the incoming rookie class for the 2025-26 NBA season. Based on their evaluations and preliminary observations from this offseason, participants cast their votes on 5 questions. Can anyone challenge Flag for Rookie of the Year? Which players were viewed as potential draft steals? And which player do teams view as the front runner for the no? One pick in 2026? Our panelists weighed in. Who's your NBA Rookie of the Year pick? 1. Cooper Flag, Dallas Mavericks, no. 117 votes. 2. Dylan Harper, San Antonio Spurs, no. 2 votes. Also receiving votes: Trey Johnson, Washington Wizards. The early Rookie of the Year frontrunner isn't exactly a surprise. Flag was the no. One pick for good reason and is considered not only the top prospect, but perhaps the most NBA-ready player in the class. He joins a Mavericks team expected to lean on him, with Kyrie Irving recovering from tearing an ACL in March. Flag's playmaking skills, positional size, and defensive impact project to be immediately useful. The caveat, as mentioned by a few of our voters, is that Flag might not wind up leading the rookie class in scoring. He's still developing as a shot creator, and the Mavericks shouldn't need him to carry an outsized load in that respect. His 31-point summer league showing, before Dallas shut him down, helped underscore Flag's ability, but on a team with plenty of veterans, he might not be needed to take over games. Other rookies, including ace Bailey and Johnson, landed on rebuilding teams where they'll likely have more freedom to operate but aren't expected to win as many games. In the end, voters widely predict Flag's star power and winning impact will drive the award voting. I assume someone like Bailey or Johnson may outscore Cooper as a rookie, one Eastern Conference executive said, but Cooper will make more meaningful contributions that push Dallas into play-in range. Which rookie, other than Flag, will prove to be the draft's best pick? 1. V.J. Edgecombe, Philadelphia 76ers, no. 310 votes. 2. Dylan Harper, Spurs, no. 6 votes, with Flag the overwhelming headliner of the 2025 draft class. We geared this question toward the rest of the group. Best pick was left open for interpretation intentionally. The goal was simply to find out which selections rival teams like most. The big winner here was Edgecombe, who came off the board third to the 76ers and underscored his talent earlier this month with an outstanding 28-point performance in his lone game at the Utah Summer League event. The Baylor product is turning into a dynamic downhill slasher in the backcourt, and many execs and scouts believe he has significant untapped upside operating with the ball in his hands after playing mostly away from it in college. While there were some reasonable questions about fit in Philadelphia, where the 76ers also have Tyrese Maxey and 2024 draft pick Jared McCain at guard, Edgecombe's potential to be a standout on both sides of the ball ultimately overrode those concerns. There's plenty of optimism around the league surrounding his future. VJ might be Philly's second best player by the end of the season, factoring in Joel Embiid's uncertain health. An Eastern Conference GM said, "He's that good and will thrive playing in Nick Nurse's system." San Antonio's Harper, the no. 2 pick out of Rutgers, garnered 6 votes, with some viewing the Spurs as a strong landing spot despite a crowded backcourt situation. with Harper joining 2024 to 25 Rookie of the Year Stephon Castle, and recently acquired De'Aaron Fox in the mix. Harper's pick-and-roll prowess and crafty, powerful style of play made him the choice for the Spurs, who have been optimizing for additional playmaking around Victor Wembanyama moving forward. Even if he winds up coming off the bench as a rookie, Harper projects as a foundational long-term player. Harper has some Manu Ginobili to his offensive game, one Western Conference scout said. If the three-point shot ever becomes a true weapon for him, he makes Fox expendable and gives San Antonio a nice trade asset. Which rookie will be the biggest draft steal? 1. Carter Bryant, Spurs, no. 14.5 votes. 2. Joan Beringer, Minnesota Timberwolves, no. 17.4 votes. 3. Casper Zicoshiones, Miami Heat, no. 22 votes. This question turned up the widest range of responses, with several voters offering dual answers. Spurs rookie Bryant garnered the most votes on the heels of his excellent defensive play at the Las Vegas Summer League session. The Arizona forward was widely expected to come off the board earlier, with potential suitors in Portland and Atlanta trading out of their slots in the late lottery, which dropped him to San Antonio's spot. Bryant will turn into an impact wing defender that can make threes and be a part of their core, one Eastern Conference scout said. We'll look back in several years while the Spurs are winning big, and people will mention them drafting Castle at 4 in 2024 and Bryant at 14 to pair defensively with Victor as draft steals. There was also excitement around Beringer, another defensive-oriented prospect who played well in Las Vegas. The 18-year-old French center has been playing basketball competitively for only 4 years, but he has demonstrated strong instincts as a shot blocker and lob catcher and played his way into first round of the draft after entering last season as a lesser-known talent. Beringer drew late lottery interest, but ended up falling to the Timberwolves after 3 centers, Derek Queen, Thomas Sorber, and Young, were selected in the 4 picks preceding him at no. 17. He'll be an understudied countryman and 3-time Defensive Player of the Year Rudy Gobert next season. Beringer could turn out to be a top 5 player in this draft, the Eastern Conference GM said. Upside is through the roof, and he doesn't even know how to play yet. He is also in a perfect situation where he can learn and grow from all of their bigs. Which pick was the draft's biggest reach? 1. Igor Demon, Nets, no. 8-7 votes. 2. Jan Hansen, Trailblazers, no. 16-4 votes. 3. Cedric Coward, Grizzlies, no. 11-3 votes. 3 players drew multiple votes from the panel, Demon, Young, and Coward, with the Nets guard drawing the most scrutiny. Brooklyn held 5 first-round picks and ultimately made and rostered all 5 of them, enabling a strategy that led to several swings on playmaking prospects, including Demon. At 6'9", Demon has excellent passing skills, but was divisive for teams all season as he dealt with ups and downs adjusting to college basketball at BYU. Even if you believe in Demon as a starting NBA point guard, and I don't, it seems like he would have been gettable at the end of the lottery or even later, one Eastern Conference executive said. Young was certainly the most surprising pick of the draft, with most teams expecting him to come off the board in the early second round before the Trailblazers traded back with the Grizzlies from no. 11 to no. 16 and selected him much sooner. The 20-year-old center turned out to be a priority for the Blazers, who quietly coveted him after monitoring him over the past couple of years. Young had a nice showing at Summer League, continuing to flash excellent playmaking instincts and promising offensive skill, 10.8 points, 5.0 rebounds, and 3.8 assists in 4 games. Still, there was some feeling that he was selected a bit too early relative to how some evaluated the board, with concerns about his foot speed and defensive projection key questions as his career progresses. I, like Young, just didn't see it coming, with him going right outside of the lottery, another Eastern Conference executive said. Coward, the player ultimately selected no. 11 by Memphis in that trade deal, was a major riser in the pre-draft process. But after he played just 6 games at Washington State due to injury, some around the league viewed him as more unproven than what would be considered optimal for a typical late lottery selection. The Grizzlies targeted him as part of their replacement plan for Desmond Bane, whom they traded last month to the Magic. He's a raw talent who needs to learn the game, one Western Conference scout said. But if he can shoot and defend and it translates, there's a chance with his physical intangibles. One scout preferred not to answer, feeling that it's hard to critique picks without a full understanding of other teams' evaluation processes. If your team believed in the guy, he said, then take your guy. Who will be the no? One pick in the 2026 NBA draft. One, Darren Peterson, Kansas, 12 votes. Two, AJ. Dibansa, BYU, 8 votes. Looking ahead to 2026, next season might bring a tight race to the no. One spot on boards with Kansas guard Peterson, ESPN's current no. One prospect in 2026, and BYU wing Dibansa, no. Two on our top 100 as the two leading candidates. Peterson commanded more votes. With his unusual mix of positional size, skill, and explosiveness profiling as one of the best lead guard prospects in recent memory. He has a physical talent and competitive makeup to excel as an offensive creator and standout defender. He will be heavily featured for the Jayhawks after a strong senior season, and prolific prep put him at the forefront of the no. One conversation. Peterson stands out as a more complete and dependable option, said one Eastern Conference executive who voted for Peterson, viewing him as a more NBA-ready of the two players and harping on the maturity of his approach. Each time I see him, he's sharper, more refined, and continues to show growth, constantly raising his level of play. That hunger, consistency, and drive to get better translates directly into winning impact. Contrary to 2025, when Flag held the mantle of no, one from start to finish, there should be quite a bit to play out on the court starting in the fall, with Dibansa still very much in the picture. For a time, he was considered a strong favorite for first selection, with NBA teams heavily keyed on him since his freshman year of high school.
Yes, good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Bro Code Podcast. It feels so good to be back here in the studio for another exciting episode of the Bro Code Podcast. We hope that everybody liked the K.L.P. Aftermath podcast yesterday. If you guys missed it, boy, howdy, let me tell you, that was a rocking good episode. You don't want to miss it for sure when it comes down to our next episode of the K.L.P. Aftermath. But tonight, on a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Friday, I do want to say welcome again to the Bro Code Podcast. I know that we've been away this last weekend and a few days. Of course, if you know, we've been in Chicago. Johnny and David, they're doing their thing for the Johnny and David show. And of course, it feels good to be back with my guys T and Jackson here for the Bro Code Podcast. Now, let's dive on into the headlines. We don't want to waste any more time here. Of course, we saw the SEC on the spectrum on the ballot there, and it's underachievable dramatically. Well, of course, the SEC teams went 8-7 in bowl playoff season, falling short against the spread by only 1.6 points per game, which is the same thing to say that its spread were pretty accurate on the average. Some people will say T and Jackson for the SEC. Of course, they might say that they're underachieved, but more than against the Big Ten teams for that. And the second straight season, a lot of people gave it a gaps, kind of a shocking thing. And SEC, that's a tongue twister there, T, team failed to win a national title. The league is still comfortable in having the best average SP plus rating in the nation, thanks to primarily to smaller numbers of genuinely bad teams, but it certainly didn't finish the 2024 season in much of a great mood. Now, with the Big Ten teams such as Penn State and Ohio State, Notre Dame, and the ACC's Clemson, they're all looking for the potential top 5 hype. There is a decent chance for the SEC's title free run reaches within 3 years, but try to hold back the sympathy. That's what we say to a lot of fans out there. The league still has at least 3 of the most talented teams in the nation and the largest selection of upper middle class teams with dreams of 10-2 records and the playoff at large bids, of course. Now, in Arch Manning, Lenore Sellers, DJ Longway, Marcel Reed, and maybe even Austin Simmons. It has the most fascinating set of young quarterbacks to the sport. Now, it has been mostly under pressure for Alabama head coach in a generation. It has Diego Pavilla, and it was the last year. Last year is an unindicated. It might have a few more shocking playoff turning upsets too. Now, the league, however, audience and fans that's listening to the Bro Code podcast, the league has never lacked for talent. They never lack for talent. They never lack for grievance. They never lack for the storylines and the storytelling. Now, a lot of people will say that they don't see why this would change in the year of 2025. Here on the Bro Code podcast, I'm going to preview the SEC that's coming up within this season. I'm very excited for the SEC. I'm excited for Big Ten, ACC, football. I'm excited for NFL. NFL, that's around the corner. That's getting ready to start in August. And boy, howdy, that's going to be good for us to cover on Bro Code Podcast, our official sports show presented by Our Heart Media. Had to do the plug here. Now, the 2024 SEC race was perfect. It was a perfect battle of ceiling versus the floor. Of course, it was Texas and our home state town of Georgia had the highest floors when it comes down to seeding, when it comes down to fan engagement, when it comes down to the game itself. Losing only to the SP plus top 10 teams and grinding out wins, they often by margin smaller than expected. Now, Texas, some people will say in the 2024 season, they underachieved against their SP plus projections in the 7th of its last 10 games in Georgia. Last 10 games for Texas. Now, in Georgia in 4 and its last 6 within that performance. Alabama and Ole Miss, meanwhile, they put together some of the most impressive single game performances within the season. Now, of course, Kalen DeBoer's Crimson Tide beat Missouri 34-0. And we got to look at Louisiana State University, Louisiana, LSU 42-13 in back-to-back weeks, with Ole Miss plummet South Carolina 27-3 and became the first team. Again, the first team since 2019 LSU to beat Georgia by more than 17 points. That record was 28-10. Now, that is ridiculously a high ceiling, is why Alabama and Ole Miss finished together higher than Texas and Georgia in the final SP rankings. Now, both of these colleges missed the college football playoffs because they were also capable of losing to 4-8 Kentucky, 6-7 Oklahoma Jackson, and 7-6 Vanderbilt. Now, granted that 2 of these were is statistically unlikely defeats. Ole Miss had a 76% post-game win expectancy for its 20-17 loss to Kentucky. Now, while Alabama was at a 99 percentile for expectancy on its glory to that 40-35 loss to Vandy, they made that thing happen. It happened. Now, elsewhere around the spectrum of the SEC and the tournaments and football in general, elsewhere, Tennessee rode a brilliant defense, right, with that bid at the bowl there, and another hopeful South Carolina. We got to mention that they lost 3 of 4 early games in the season. LSU, Louisiana State, lost 3 in a row. Texas A&M lost 4 of 5 towards the end, and Missouri is a 3-3 mid-season stretch. They looked apart at times, but fell short because of the flunks from the team. Now, again, the continuable table that ESPN has presented on ESPN.com. Of course, they say that it looks at each team's returning production levels. That's offense, defense, and overall scoring. The number of 2024 season starts from both returning and incoming players, and the approximate number of redshirt freshmen on the roster to heading into this year of 2025 fall ball season. Now, only the Big 12 has a better returning production average than the SEC, which in a universal way, they legally will have well paid players, right? I know there's the NIL deals that's coming around, that's getting ready to start up the moment with SEC. It's something you would probably expect from the SEC. Now the Big 12 ended up with an average because of its huge number of strong returning quarterbacks who carry significant weight in the return production formula, but the SEC has the highest average of both returning starters and incoming starters for the season. This is going to be a secondary seasoned league for the 2025 projectile season. Look at for, and I do want to say, of the 5 teams that finished in the SP plus top 10 last season, 4 ranked 81st or worse in the returning production, but the 5th, Alabama, ranks at the top 30. That is by far the cleanest, I gotta say. It's the cleanest, easiest way to explain why Crimson Tide start off on top in that category. Now, of course, it's looking at if Texas is likely to start out number 1 in the postseason polls, but because there is no Arch Manning that is about to take the leap factor in these projections, the Horns are merely top 5. Now, nationally, there are 8 teams projected within a touchdown of number 1 ranking in the SP plus, and the SEC has only 3 of them. The Big Ten also has 3, while Clemson and Notre Dame are also involved in that. They indeed means the SEC doesn't exactly have overwhelmingly odds of producing a national champion. Of course, a lot of people are telling SEC fans when the league was winning titles nearly every season, there's not the greatest measure of league strength from Alabama, right? Alabama winning six titles with the best coach of all time didn't exactly say much on how good, the other teams like Mississippi State or South Carolina for that matter was, right? But while the SEC has led its title grip slip, the simple fact is that it has 10 of the projected top 17 teams, and 12 of the top 25 teams drop some pretty clear hints regarding which conference has the best overall depth. We're going to continue to watch up to see what's going to happen when it comes down to it. I want to highlight this real quick. The top 10 best games of 2025 for the season, right? We've got August 3rd. Again, football season is almost here, guys. NFL is getting ready to start in August. You have now the latest, the college football game that's out. My big brother plays that game a lot. And then you've got, the college football getting ready to start. I know ESPN's getting ready to start up. Pat McAfee's probably getting ready to start up this season. Texas and at Ohio State, that's going to be August 30th. LSU and Clemson, also August 30th. You got Georgia at Tennessee. That's going to be in September 13th. Alabama at Georgia. And I have to be a little biased here because obviously we're headquarters here in Atlanta, Georgia. Alabama and Georgia games are always fire, right? They're always a thing when it comes down to it. This is more likely a rematch for the second biggest game of 2024, right? Aside from the Ohio State-Michigan game, no game did it better for us to remind us that huge college football games will still be huge and delightful, even when the national title stakes are dampened by a bigger playoff, right? So we're getting to see that rematch again between Alabama and Georgia from last season. September 27, you have LSU at Ole Miss. You have October 4th, Texas at Florida. October 18th, you got Ole Miss at Georgia. Alabama at South Carolina, October 25th. You got LSU at Alabama, November 8th. And of course, you've got Texas at Georgia, November 15th within regular season. Can't wait to see what happens within the SEC. I look forward to it, guys. It's go time, right? August is going to be here before we know it. We're going to be right here in the studio to talk more about college football this season on Bro Code Podcast, and I can't wait to see what happens next.
Next, we talk soccer. The transfer window is open across Europe, and business is starting to get done. What are ESPN's reporters hearing about possible deals? Every Friday until September, we'll bring you the latest updates and insights on the biggest transfer news. What's the latest on Manchester United striker search? They're looking, but there's no guarantee the team will upgrade, at least. That's what Ruben Amorim has been told. Marcus Rashford's departure on loan to Barcelona has created some financial headroom, so there has been some exploration into deals for the likes of Ollie Watkins, Randall Kolo Muani, and Dusan Vlahovic. If someone comes in, it's likely someone else will have to leave. United have arrived in the U.S. for their summer tour with Rasmus Højlund, Joshua Zirkzee, and Cheeto Obi in the squad. Another addition would make it 4 players, fighting for one position. It has already been a big summer for 9 strikers, and that looks set to continue. Kolo Muani, 26, is still under contract with Paris Saint-Germain, but they don't want him, and he doesn't want to stay either. Juventus, where he spent the second half of last season on loan, would like to sign him, but it is financially difficult for them. The France international has been offered to plenty of clubs, especially in England. Chelsea looked at him but preferred Liam Delap and Joao Pedro. Arsenal were never keen, but it might be different for Newcastle and Manchester United. Both clubs are in need of a striker and have already missed out on many of their other targets. Victor Gyökeres, Hugo Ekitike, Delap, and Kolo Muani could be a good solution. PSG could agree to a loan with an obligation to sign him permanently. Otherwise, the fee would be around 50 million euros for a player they signed for an initial 75 million euros in 2023. Julian Lawrence. Could Alejandro Garnacho end up at Bayern? It's possible. Bayern Munich are looking for a winger and have inquired about what it would take to sign him. United are willing to listen to any realistic offer, but Garnacho's preference is to stay in the Premier League. So far, there has been interest from Chelsea and Aston Villa. Bayern want Luis Diaz as first choice though, right? It certainly seems that way. Bayern saw their opening bid of £56 million rejected by Liverpool last week. But there is an expectation at Anfield that the German club will return to the table with an improved offer. While Liverpool's stance this summer has been that Diaz will not be allowed to leave, noise from the players' camp suggests he is seeking a move away from Merseyside as he prepares to enter the final 2 years of his contract. If Bayern propose a suitable fee, Liverpool's resolve could be tested, particularly if they hold serious interest in signing Alexander Isak from Newcastle, who would command a British record fee of around £150 million. Could the Reds move for Real Madrid's Rodrigo instead? After already recruiting Florian Wirtz, Milos Kerkez, Jeremy Frimpong, and Ekitike for over £200 million. While still being keen on Isak, the Premier League champions will also have to look at a left winger if Luis Diaz leaves. And Rodrigo is high on their short list. Sporting director Richard Hughes is a big fan of PSG's Bradley Barcola, but knows the French club won't let him go this summer. Other options like Nico Williams, Marcus Rashford, Jadon Sancho, Xavi Simons, just to name a few, are either not available now or never interested Liverpool anyway. Rodrigo, however, ticks a lot of boxes with his age, 24, versatility, experience, and profile. He would be expensive at around 80 million euros. But if they can recoup some cash from the exits of Diaz and Darwin Núñez, then they can balance the books. Will Real Madrid look to bring anyone in? Madrid are still waiting for possible departures before they can make a move in the transfer market. But in the meantime, the club are open to loaning in Drick to another team to avoid hindering his progress, though the young striker's priority remains to stay at the Bernabeu to follow in the footsteps of Vinicius Jr., a source told ESPN Brazil. Madrid have also activated several departures in the youth academy. Young center-back Jacobo Ramon is about to sign with Cesc Fabregas Como, having made his first team debut last season. After spending a year on loan at Valladolid, midfielder Mario Martin will sign for Getafe. Midfielder Chima has traveled to Germany to join Stuttgart, who will pay €3 million to sign him. And defender Laurent Aguado had an offer from Qatar, but looks like he will be joining Albacete in the second division. Chelsea have been quiet of late. Not really. Chelsea are still working hard behind the scenes and have seen a first bid for 19-year-old Ajax defender Joel Hato rejected. Sources have told ESPN. Chelsea value Hato's versatility in defense and believe he perfectly fits the bill for coach Enzo Maresca, who wants a defender who can also help out in midfield, especially when it comes to playing the ball out from the back. Chelsea are also considering strengthening other positions. Sources have told ESPN they have stepped up their pursuit for RB Leipzig midfielder Xavi Simons, and they are monitoring the situation of Garnacho after Manchester United decided to leave him out of their preseason tour. Meanwhile, Ecuador international talent Kendry Páez will go out on loan to feeder club Strasbourg. The 18-year-old attacking midfielder had several offers from other European clubs, but the French side have won the battle. Meanwhile, Strasbourg are also close to securing the services of Alaves striker Joaquin Panicelli, who has been one of the revelations of La Liga 2 on loan at Mirandes, and the Argentine will leave for his €20 million release clause. Will Manchester City sign a new goalkeeper? City have moved quickly to reach a £27 million deal to bring Burnley goalkeeper James Trafford back to the Etihad, which complicates the futures of Ederson and Stefan Ortega. Galatasaray are interested in Ederson, but City will not offload the Brazil international for the low-level €3 million offer from the Turkish club. Ortega is also attracting interest from Europe. Trafford, a product of the City Academy, left City for Turf Moor in 2023, and the 22-year-old has earned England recognition during an impressive 2 seasons with Burnley. Newcastle made a move to sign Trafford this summer, but with City negotiating a clause to re-sign him in the deal, which took the goalkeeper to Turf Moor in 2023. Burnley were obliged to inform City of Newcastle's £27 million offer, and the club decided to match it. PSG have been in talks with Bournemouth defender Ilya Zabarnyi for weeks. What's the latest? Finally, this mini-saga is coming to an end. PSG president Nasser Al-Khelaifi got involved personally this week to finalize the €60 million deal, and the European champions are now close to a full agreement for the Ukraine defender. Zabarnyi, 22, has already agreed to personal terms and wants to join the club. The structure of the fee was the main issue, but it is being resolved now with a conclusion expected early next week. Any other interesting deals in the works? Man City have done the bulk of their transfer business, but it's still possible that they could sign a right back before the deadline. It won't, though, be Tino Livramento. City have looked at the Newcastle defender, but have since moved on to other targets. Erik ten Hag is fighting to block Granit Xhaka's proposed move from Bayer Leverkusen to Sunderland. Former Manchester United manager Ten Hag, appointed as Xabi Alonso's successor as Leverkusen coach this summer, has already seen Florian Wirtz, Jeremy Frimpong, and Jonathan to leave the Bay Arena this summer. And with Xhaka regarded as a crucial member of the team, Ten Hag made it clear to the Leverkusen hierarchy that he cannot afford to lose the former Arsenal midfielder. Aymeric Laporte is in negotiations to return to Athletic Club. The Al Nassr center-back is on a salary that is impossible for the Basque club to match, but a source told ESPN that he would be willing to take a pay cut to return to his former team. In addition, the Spain international is aware that playing in La Liga could increase his chances of making the 2026 World Cup squad. Marseille are closing in on the transfer of Feyenoord winger Igor Paiseo. After 3 offers rejected, they have made a new one of just over €30 million, which the Dutch side are happy to accept. The 25-year-old Brazilian, currently injured, wants to move to France. Adama Traoré is weighing up several options to leave Fulham. One of them is Nottingham Forest, who are considering signing him. After the exit of Club World Cup standout Richard Rios to Benfica, Palmeiras are looking for his replacement in Mexico. Their first option is Mexico international Marcel Ruiz, from Toluca. He is highly regarded within the club, but no formal bid has been made as of yet. The transfer is valued at around $12 million by the club, which is far from the $30 million received by the Brazilian club for Rios. Another option for Palmeiras is Colombia midfielder Nelson Diasa from Monterrey. The club is reportedly preparing a $16 million bid for the 24-year-old and consider him a player with similar characteristics to Rios. Cruz Azul have given a deadline for Luka Jovic to respond to the deal they had reached weeks ago. Next Sunday, the Cruz Azul board are not going to wait any longer, nor will they modify the offer. So far, none of the European offers have matched, let alone improved, the financial proposal from La Maquina for Jovic, although in recent hours the attacker has been approached by clubs in the Middle East, where there is significant financial power. America and LAFC extended Javero Del Rosen's loan for 1 day, so the player can play the match against Portland amid negotiations over his transfer. Everything points to him remaining in Los Angeles for longer, allowing America to free up that foreign player spot to add another reinforcement. The Dutch winger has a contract with America until December 2026. However, the board are working to terminate his contract before that date. Alejandro Garnacho was given a second chance by Ruben Amorim after a disagreement early in the Portuguese coach's reign at Old Trafford. He's unlikely to get a third, with Garnacho being told to train away from his teammates and then being axed from the preseason tour of the United States. All signs point to an exit this summer if the club receives a suitable offer. Manchester United have already dropped their demands from £70 million in January to around £40 million to make sure it happens. The writing is on the wall. Garnacho was given a reprieve by Amorim in December. The winger was dropped from the squad for the Manchester Derby against Manchester City at the Etihad Stadium because Amorim believed he had failed to listen to instructions while he waited to come on as a substitute in a Europa League tie against FC Victoria Plzen 4 days earlier. Garnacho missed the game and was forced to train at Carrington with Marcus Rashford, also omitted from squad, while United ultimately won a memorable derby 2-1 thanks to a stoppage-time goal from Amad Diallo. But after talks between player and manager, the issue was put down to a miscommunication, and Garnacho was reintegrated back into the squad. He impressed Amorim and his staff by offering to take on media duties ahead of the Europa League semi-final second leg against Athletic Club. Just weeks later, however, Amorim's patience had run out. Comments made by Garnacho in the wake of his omission from the team for the Europa League final defeat to Tottenham Hotspur were deemed to have gone too far. Subsequently dropped for the last game of the season against Aston Villa, it was made clear to the Argentina international that he should use the summer to find another club. There has been interest from Chelsea, Villa, Napoli, and Bayern Munich. United are waiting for a concrete offer. Only if nothing materializes before the transfer deadline will Amorim consider whether there might be a way back, but the odds are stacked against it. Garnacho's talent isn't in question, with Amorim's drive to cut ties instead driven by a desire to change the culture at Old Trafford. It's the same reason Rashford was sent to Aston Villa on loan in January and has since been shipped out to Barcelona. Amorim is sure that letting Garnacho leave is the right thing to do, and United's willingness to listen to offers of between £35 million to £40 million shows just how keen the club is to facilitate a move. Anthony Elanga, who has scored 11 Premier League goals over the past 2 seasons compared to Garnacho's 13, has moved to Newcastle United from Nottingham Forest for £55 million. Garnacho, younger than Elanga but with a similar level of first-team experience, also has more dribbles, take-ons, and progressive passes over the same period. Letting Garnacho leave would improve United's position regarding profit and sustainability rules because, as an academy graduate, any fee generated would be booked as pure profit, but it's still a risk. At 21 years old, he's nowhere near his peak. Scott McTominay is the latest United cast-off to thrive in a different environment after playing a key role in helping Napoli win the Serie A title last season. It's entirely possible that Garnacho goes on to do something similar and fulfills his potential elsewhere. United will look to include a sell-on clause in any deal to protect themselves, but with Garnacho so clearly surplus to requirements, they're not negotiating from a position of strength. Garnacho, meanwhile, is frustrated at how the situation has unfolded. There's a feeling from those closest to him that he worked hard during Amorim's first few months to prove he could play under a new manager with different tactical demands. His favorite position, wide on the left, doesn't exist in a 3-4-3 system, but he felt he adapted quickly. Between March and May, he started 14 consecutive games. I think it's difficult for everyone when, in the middle of the season, a new manager comes in and we change the formation, he said in his news conference ahead of the Europa League tie with Athletic Club. We just need to follow the rules, and I try to improve every day. The first 2 months, November and December, were very difficult for me, but my mentality is to keep working, to keep trying and show to the manager and staff I have to play. Amram was also complimentary in January. He changed in everything. The approach when I talk with him, the way he recovers, the United head coach said. I think all the merit is from Garnacho, and he is improving, and we want to continue to improve with Garnacho. I think he's improving a lot. Just a few months later, Garnacho finds himself completely out in the cold. With Amram under pressure after a difficult start at United and the possibility that Garnacho could leave on loan this summer, there's a theory that he could yet outlast his manager and get a clean slate under a new coach. That, though, would mean winning back to fans. Most supporters don't like to see good, young academy players leave the club, but Garnacho lost any goodwill he had by posting a picture of himself wearing an Aston Villa shirt with Rashford 9 on the back while on holiday. It might have just been a show of support for his then teammate, who is now at Barcelona on loan. Many fans, however, considered it to be a provocative gesture at a time when both Rashford and Garnacho were at odds with the club. It didn't go down well with club bosses, either, and only served to strengthen the view that Garnacho has to go. In the absence of a firm offer, he's still using the facilities at Carrington while his teammates prepare for the new campaign in Chicago. Amram arrived in the U.S. on Tuesday looking for a fresh start. He wants to forget United's worst season in more than 50 years as quickly as possible and give fans an early indication that the future can be bright. As United and Amram look to move on, Garnacho is one of those being left behind.
Next on the Bro Code podcast presented by iHeartMedia, I've got to talk about, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about the WNBA. Obviously, we're catching up and we are following closely when it comes down to the season. Women's sports is also really, really amazing. We're here to talk about the Golden State Valkyries and how they exceeded the expectations within the WNBA. Of course, reading from the headlines here, Kayla Thornton has grabbed the rebound and sprinted down court. The Golden State Valkyries forward Euro-stepped around the lone defender between her and the basket, reaching the rim and hit a reversal layup. We saw that. It was pretty cool, too. It was pretty cool to watch. Now, the crowd erupted when it comes down to seeing that. Now, sensing that the second half comeback against the Chicago Sky was nearly complete. I gotta say, I gotta rep my Chicago Sky now because, you know, we just came from Chicago on business, and I'd be remiss if I didn't talk so much about Chicago, how lovely Chicago is. Now, Kayla Thornton, she retreated along the sideline where the Golden State owner, Joe Lacob, reached out for a high five. She slapped his hand, then stopped and let out a roar, sending the fans into an even bigger frenzy. Here's that part where, you know, any superstar, right? I got to call them superstars. They're not just players to me. They're superstars, right? They got something there interacting with that crowd. When you have it to where you can interact to that crowd and really do a really bang-up job interacting with that crowd and having a great time, that is the most essential thing to do as a player, right? Now, of course, such senses at Chase Center, of course, have become a commonplace for the WNBA's first expansion franchise in 17 years. Now, get this. Here's stats for you, T and Jackson. Golden State has sold out all 11 of its home games this season, and it leads the WNBA in attendance. Let me tell you something that I've been preaching about the WNBA a whole heck of a lot. Let me tell y'all something. The WNBA has something very, very spectacular when it comes down to the ladies that's playing this game and really giving us a great show. And if you're able Jackson and T, if you're able to sell out your first 11, you got something. People are paying attention to it. People are paying attention to this whole ordeal of the WNBA. Now, the Chase Center transformed into what they say Valhalla, right? That's kind of like a mythical myth there. Valkyrie, Valhalla, right? Nickname for its home court, of course, that's regular draws of 18,000 fans. 18,000. Now, the energy, let's just say, has been brewing in the Bay Area since Golden State was awarded a top team 20 months ago. Valkyries Violet could been seen, of course, littering the streets of San Francisco a year before they start playing games. Of course, the Golden State became the first team in women's sports history to sell 15,000 season ticket deposits. The city was behind them all the way. The midway through their inaugural season, the Valkyries are on pace to have the biggest and highest average home attendance in any team in the WNBA history, according across this timeline. Like I say, I'm very, very stoic about that. I'm glad that, women are finally having a chance to have their expansion and to really do something quite amazing. Now, the Golden State's accomplishment on the court has been more of a surprise when the Valkyries opened camp in April. The front office said success this season would be measured by the players' level and buy-in, but the Valkyries 10-12 are on the hunt to become the first WNBA expansion team to reach the postseason after its first year. Golden State has one of the league's top 5 defenses, holding opponents to the second lowest scoring total in the league. Though the team has limped through the All-Star break, losing 5 of 6 games so far in this month of July, the Valkyries have exceeded nearly all of the expectations surrounding their first season, and even the ones they set from themselves. Of course, this is a quote from Kayla Thornton that told ESPN correspondents, and this is what she said. "I think we have surpassed what we set out for," Kayla Thornton says on ESPN, or to ESPN. "I thought it was going to take us a little bit more time to get to know each other, to get to know the system." She continued on to say, Jackson and T, "The fact that we are just going out there to play with joy, play selfless, and make the game a much easier pace," right? Very, very historic for that. Of course, Natalie Nakasi knew her players' ability to connect with each other, and the crucial moment on any team is pacing them together, putting them together. From 2 drafts and free agency, as a Golden State's coach in the front office built the roster over the past year, right? They have a particular idea in mind. Of course, Nakasi says to ESPN, "We need to pick players with the team before self, that team before self mindset," is what she says. "With a chip on their shoulders," she said to ESPN. And she continues to say, "I felt like because they all had that would become our standard, and it wasn't about to face or an elite player," right? You could tell that Natalie Nakasi, she has that need for connectivity. That's something she learned during her time as assistant coach with the NBA, right? And she was with the Los Angeles Clippers. And that was back in 2017 with the playoffs, right? She has to have that connection, that connectivity within the players. And I think a lot of coaches, they're, in my opinion, based on what I see in the games, right, they're trying to connect players together, because if you are in sync together, you perform really, really well. Then Nakasi goes on to say to the Valkyries that don't have to face the franchise, but all 12 players on the roster make up their own identity. Right? Golden State center Timmy Fabingle, I probably butchered her name, said that They are all a team made up of 6 women. Thornton, who previously played for New York Liberty's super team with these names here, Inicio and Brianna Stewart, right? They won the 2024 title. Said every member of the Valkyries team has been waiting for her opportunity to shine. They don't have to have a flashy roster, is what I would say. They don't have to have a flashy roster. Not a flashy roster of former lottery picks or an all-league selection, right? But they are selfless, has led them to early success, in my opinion. That's what I see them on the court. It's their selflessness. It's not the flashy, oh, I'm on TV, I'm on ESPN, you got podcast shows talking about it. No, they are for the sport. Now, the Valkyries have already run more than twice as many games as the last team expansion. That was us, the Atlanta Dream. Shout out to the Atlanta Dream. They did their debut season in 2008, and more than the Seattle Storm did 6 in their first season in the year of 2000. I'm very, very excited to see. First and foremost, if it doesn't go without saying, I know I don't want to be a broken record here on the show, but it goes without saying that women's sports, they're phenomenal. I'm very excited for the Golden State Valkyries to number one sell out games. Right, I did see the photo. I think it might have been like that All-Star game that we saw a couple of days ago, where Caitlin Clark and others, they wore a shirt that say "Pay us what you owe." I want to sit here and say on the show, I agree with that method. I think the ladies do need to get paid as much of a salary like the NBA. You got players on the NBA that's making I'm just spitting numbers here, $180 million every 4-year contract. And the ladies don't get paid nearly as that. I think it's time. As things change, as the ladies get more enticed to give us a bang-up good show, each basketball WNBA game that I'm watching, it's time to give the ladies what they deserve. That's what I want to see. That's what I want to see that goes forward into giving us a great, great show that's going to be meaningful. It's going to be worthwhile. I think if the ladies do get a pay increase, because, right, we saw the shirts, right? If the ladies do get a pay increase, audience and guys, they might be enticed to give us a really kick-ass show. Playing ball. Right? That's just how I feel on it. Shout out to the WNBA. We're always going to rep you guys here in Atlanta for the Bro Code podcast. That's going to wrap it up on tonight's show. We hope that everybody enjoyed today's show. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Again, if you like what you heard or saw, share it with your friends, letting you guys know that we were live for the Bro Code podcast. We want to thank you guys so very much. This show, you can also watch it not only for Spotify for video, Facebook watch, and clips on Instagram, but you can also watch this on the K.L.P. Entertainment's radio station hub. Again, that is klpentertainment.ismyradio.com. You guys can watch our show there as well. That is the new radio hub where it'll be your go-to source of all of our content compiled together on that website. So you guys do not want to miss it. And also, if you're listening to the podcast tonight, we thank you all so very much, and we can't wait to see more of it. T. Jackson, has been a pleasure with our special guest, Johnny from the Johnny and David Show, spoke earlier today on this episode. So we thank you for that as well, Johnny. It's going to be very, very fantastic because I think the show's growing. I think we might have to pull Johnny for this show too. But it's the Bro Code podcast. We want to say from our entire cast and crew, stay blessed. I got to say it. Stay blessed. Stay swanky. Stay cool because it's getting warm out there. We'll see you guys in the next Bro Code podcast episode. Until then, Have a great night.
Welcome to the Bro Code Podcast. Join Kennedy Lucas, Terry Lester, and Jackson Smith as they break down the biggest plays, share locker room banter, and keep it 100 on sports hot takes. Gear up, cause this is where the real talk begins.